Well, what a day it's been. Oh my goodness. We had the Flynn hearing today and also the debate. And wow, Ratcliffe came out with a really good bombshell. So stick with me, folks. We're going to talk about it all in a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and oh, what a day. Oh, I've been listening to all kinds of stuff today. I kind of feel like my brain is like on overload or something like that. It started out with the Flynn hearing and ran from like 11 o'clock until, oh, I don't know, 4 or so, somewhere in there. They did have a couple of breaks, and we're trying to listen, and then we didn't hear that the first one was going to be a break, but I think they broke for lunch, and then they came back, and then they had like a 15-minute break near the end. But oh boy, that was almost painful. To be honest, it really was, because the guy that was speaking on behalf of the judge, or the amicus that he had brought in, that Gleason, just kept babbling. I mean, he just kept talking and talking and talking. It was like, shut up. um, really. And Sydney didn't get to talk very much at all, which I thought was kind of odd. And the questions that he asked her, the judge asked her, were like, did you talk to the president? Well, what did you tell the president? And it's like, really, what does that have to do with anything? It doesn't. And Gleason kept accusing Flynn of lying, and it was just really negative, and it really made me feel like our judicial system is lost. I know it's not, okay? I know that President Trump has put a lot of new judges in there, but this is precisely why he needed new judges. And I don't know. We're going to see if we've got enough of them out there, because all of the things that are coming up with the election that are being challenged in court, hopefully we'll have good rulings on those, but you never know. All depends on where it's at, and if you get a judge like Sullivan. Anyway, I'm not going to go through it all because it just was similar stuff being rehashed. I thought it was pretty purposeless, to be honest. And the questions that he asked showed clearly that the judge has a bias. I mean, it was pretty obvious, I think, to anybody that watched it. So I liked what this guy says here. He says, on the same day that Sullivan ensured that a courtroom descended into total perversion of justice, Wallace ensured that a debate descended into total perversion of impartiality. That is pretty much a sum up of the day. It really was. So I wanted to share that with you. This is a good guy to follow on Twitter, by the way. He often has some good insights into different legal aspects of things. So I like seeing what he has to say. Well, there was a lot of preparation going on for the debate, and this was one of them right here. This is the DNC War Room, and this is a document that they put out. And this appeared on half-chan, which, if you know, that means 4chan. So for those who don't know that, that's what they always call it, half-chan. And so I'm going to link to this particular page, to the We Are the News site, because 4chan probably is not something that YouTube will want me to link to. But essentially, this goes through, and this is their debate fact check toolkit. And if you look at all of these different things, you see what they're talking about. And they're going to lead on rapid response fact checking, providing information about Trump's record to the public in real time via press releases, social media, and visibility projects on the ground in Ohio. In other words, they already had things all written up, because you don't write a press release in 2 seconds. So they already had them written, and they were just ready to start firing away as soon as they could. So here are the things that they wanted their people to do to amplify facts about Trump's failed record. And of course, I'm going to put the word facts in like air quotes because, yeah, Anyway, they evidently have a war room on Facebook and Twitter. They wanted people to follow Kamala and retweet her if they could. And then look at this, follow and retweet the new Biden-Harris @Truth Twitter account. All right, that's what they call it. And if you go there, there is a Twitter account. However, it's not new. It's been there since August 2015, sitting there doing nothing. Okay? Now, I find it really hard to believe that in August of 2015, they were able to get @Truth, because I had a tough time. I couldn't get Truthification Chronicles because it was too long. And I tried Truthification. I couldn't even get that because somebody else had it. So I find it hard to believe that somebody didn't already have Truth. But anyway, that's what they're calling their site, their Twitter feed. And they only have 15 tweets. You see that up here. It says 15 tweets. And but they have 255.6K followers. So quite a bit. And I find it interesting that these people are following it and they follow me too. So kind of makes me wonder who they are. I mean, they could very well be. One of the things that they found out with Twitter is if you followed a lot of the big name liberals, it was a way of getting around the algorithm that would shadow ban people and everything. So some people did do that. And they also did it so they could kind of make sure that they commented a lot on their feed. So I don't know if that's the purpose behind these. I'm kind of looking at those people in a little different light now, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, 15 tweets. And all of those tweets are from tonight. At least all of them that are listed here. So, and there's 15 of them. But yeah, you go through these and it would be interesting to get people to go in and maybe make some comments to correct the record, because evidently these people, they're living in a delusion. They really are. They just don't, I don't understand this. What is so hard about this concept that there are votes by mail where you request it, and then there are votes by mail where they send it to everybody even though they didn't request them? I don't understand why they can't see the difference there. It's pretty obvious to me that, there is a huge difference. And so President Trump is someone who has requested a ballot. Hey, he's the president. It's not like he can go to the voting polls and everything. So he requested a ballot. Nothing wrong with that. My parents did. It's all right. There are times when you have to do that. But they just can't see the difference. And then they misquoted Kellyanne Conway here again, trying to say that they're rooting for this chaos and violence. That's not what she said. She said they don't want it to happen, but when it's happening, it's actually making President Trump look good, because it's exposing how these Democrats that are running these cities and states don't care about their people, that they would rather win a political battle than actually go in there and solve the problem, which is the violence and rioting and stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You can go through. It's just a little frustrating because it appears that everyone who is following them must be a yes person. And so it's also very odd that they've got 17K here, 18K here on some of these. And yet the number of comments are kind of low, it seems like. So, 80 some comments, and you've got only 1.5K here. And so I don't know that they may say that they have so many followers, but I just got to wonder how many of those are genuine. I'm not sure. But I thought I would show that to you. If you are a Twitter warrior, you might want to go in and see what you can do there. Maybe spread a little more truth to them. So anyway, But they have this whole document here, and they had hashtags and everything. And I want to encourage you maybe to use some of their tactics, because this is, it says message your constituents, which I think is interesting, because that means this went out and this is what they're expecting from people who have constituents. So people who are already in political power positions. But up here, if you look at this, here are some things that I think are good ideas if you all could possibly do that. Write op-ed. And that just means that you write a little bit of an opinion piece and send it to your newspaper. You don't get paid anything for it, but you might get a byline. And just put on there that it's an opinion piece and see what they'll do. A lot of times they'll print it, because local newspapers have a lot of space to fill every day. And usually they want more local news, but if they can get an opinion piece from somebody who is local, you don't even have to write that great. Just put down your opinion, what you know about President Trump. And I think that this is a very good idea that we need to be doing. And as a writer, I'm encouraging you all to do that. So, take some of these topics and tell the truth about what President Trump has done. And so, especially when it comes to the COVID response, that is just so crazy. They keep repeating, he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. It's like, hello, I've seen the plan. I've seen it pretty clearly. Yes, he has had a plan. And if he didn't have a plan, why in the world are we getting ready to see vaccines already? And mention, Vice President Biden's record, because it's not good. And especially about Hunter Biden. Boy, Joe kind of tensed up every time Hunter was mentioned. And volunteer if you can. That'd be a really great thing to do. Obviously, don't take that link, but go to your Republican organization in your town or your county or whatever and see if you can find something that you could do to help out. It'd be really great. And then here was his plan, his debate plan, right here. This is what he was going to do. And here it says, our expectation is that the moderator will ask the tough questions Americans are asking at their kitchen tables. No, he really didn't. So anyway, we'll get into that in a second here. But this right here was an interesting thing, because Todd Starnes put out, he said, word on the street is that Joe Biden got tonight's debate questions in advance. And here is the link. It was an interview with Jerome Corsi. And here's the link to it. So you can take that. I haven't listened to it, so I don't know what it says. But evidently that's where it came out that Joe Biden got tonight's debate questions in advance, which, are we surprised? No, we're not surprised. But this I thought was kind of funny. Yep, the Trump campaign buys out YouTube homepage ahead of first presidential debate. And it is true. There it is. They had this ad and this ad. That's great. That whole thing right there. That's them. So way to go. That was smart. Very, very smart, in my opinion, because you knew a lot of people were going to be coming up here and looking for it. And so, good thing. Well, here's a guy who was at work, and he said, hey all, I'm at work. How'd the debates go? And I thought, you know what? This is kind of a good summary. You want to know what happened at the debates? Right here, you'll see what people thought of it. And this guy, he says this about sums it up. So yeah, that's what happened. Pretty much that's kind of what happened. And awful both parts. I love Trump. Brutal. Yeah, it was a little brutal. And then this one right here. And there were times when Chris Wallace was debating President Trump. Yeah, it was a little out of control would be kind of the word I would use. Chris didn't do a very good job. And here he says, literally it was Chuck, I think he means Chris, and Biden against President Trump, and Trump still won. And, so stressful, man. I'd say it was a complete, what kind of show. Definitely didn't sway any voters one way or the other. Trump didn't do as well as I would have hoped. Biden did better than I thought he was going to do. Wallace did a horrendous job. Trump needs to tighten up. Biden just lied a ton. Yeah, he did. I thought maybe Trump got a little he too irritated sometimes. All right. I would have liked to have seen him tone it down and restrain just a tad. Not a lot, but a tad. Because there were so many times when he was talking over everyone else that I think probably it was a little defeating his purpose. And, people couldn't hear really what he was trying to say. And that's too bad because he was trying to set the record straight and the stuff he was saying was very important. But I don't think a lot of people heard it because they were going back and forth. And, when two people talk at the same time, it's really hard to focus in. They're just going to go ahead and point Trump now for another term. No need to go any further. Kind of looked like this. Yeah. Trump debated Wallace while Biden watched and was directed by Wallace when Biden slipped off topic. Joe was drugged, and we learned Chris Wallace is a registered Democrat. So, I felt Trump won, but it was definitely, what kind of show. And Wallace was terribly one-sided and hassled Trump the whole time. Chris Wallace was a disaster. Trump said he's got Biden and Obama, and Biden didn't have much to say about that one. Yeah, he did. He said they've got video and they've got everything. So he pretty much just put that out there. Again, Trump was saying so many important things, but because they were talking over each other, it was hard for people to hear, I'm sure. I mean, we heard it because we knew what we were listening for, but I don't think a lot of people probably understood what he was trying to say. Did you see or hear about how Candy Crawley interfered with the debate between Romney and Obama? Now multiply it by 1 million, and that's how Chris Wallace did as a moderator. Yeah. And of course, Hillary is back in the news, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit. Unfair to Trump, Wallace was biased to Biden, and Biden is not all there. But as always, Trump held his own like a beast. And this one. So, yeah, it was almost like that at times. Because they were going back and forth so much. So that just kind of gives you an overview of how people felt about it. There were mixed reviews, of course. And like I said, my own opinion was I liked what Trump was trying to say, but if he'd have pulled back just a little bit, I think he would have been able to slip those messages in a better fashion so people would have heard them better and been able to understand them. So, but he did get a lot of good information out there, really good. And if you want clips, I'm going to give you the link to Dan Scavino because he had several that were clips. Here was one where Trump asked him to name one police group that supports him, and then down here are some others. Do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing? And so there were several of them here. He's got several clips. So if you didn't get a chance to see the debate, or if you're just one of those people that's like you've had enough and you don't want to see anymore, this would be a good place. Come to his, come to his feed, and I'm sure you'll be able to find lots of them down there because he does a really good job of documenting that stuff. And then this is just for the Hoosiers out there. I just wanted to let you know that a federal judge orders Indiana absentee ballots must be counted if postmarked by Election Day. And they can get there as late as the 13th. Yeah, November 13th. So they have to be received on or before November 13th. Jeez. You see, the thing is, the Indiana code says they're supposed to be there by noon on Election Day. So they're changing the Indiana code without actually going through the legal process. So this is a federal judge, who is rewriting Indiana law because he wants to, I guess. This is the deal. I mean, how do they do this? That is judicial activism right there. And here's the ruling and the order if you want to read them. But I just can't really believe that they can do that. It just doesn't seem right at all. And really, it's kind of stupid because, like I said, my parents have already received theirs and they have already sent them in. So there's absolutely no reason people can't get their absentee ballot in on time. And if you are too stupid to get it there early, then you know what? You forfeit your vote. Imagine this. I mean, go back in time a little bit to a normal election where you had voting on the actual election day. It's been a while since that happened, I know, but some of you are older, you'll remember that. And you just had those hours. You got there from 6 in the morning till 6 at night. That's usually what we had around here. And you had to vote that day during those hours. And if you missed it, then you missed it. You missed your chance to vote. So why in the world are we bending over backwards for people who are too stupid to send their ballot in early and make sure it gets there before the deadline? I don't know. I just think it's crazy that we are doing that, but the Democrats seem to be in charge of all that kind of garbage right now. This came out, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's just I wanted to show it to you because I think it's very interesting. Yeah, they picked up a Chinese national, and this actually was arrested before, but this is when he was sentenced for laundering millions for Mexican drug cartels. And so he was sentenced today to 5 years in prison and ordered to forfeit more than $4.2 million for laundering drug proceeds generated by large-scale cocaine trafficking in the United States. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm kind of thinking that $4.2 million has to go somewhere in the government, doesn't it? I'm wondering where it goes. Because if we've picked up a lot of people like this lately, then maybe there's some millions of dollars floating around out there. What do they do with it? Where does it go? I don't know. I'd like to know, though. So anyway, this is the whole thing. And yeah, basically this guy made some relationships with Latin American drug trafficking organizations, and he would keep part of the money and help them launder their money. So nice of him to do that. I guess that's another one of those Chinese laundries, huh? I know, bad joke. Anyway, okay, this came out on the 24th. Chairman Graham releases newly declassified summary indicating FBI knew Steele dossier source was likely a Russian agent, had been under U.S. counterintelligence investigation. So you may have already heard of that, but this is based on a letter by AG Barr here. And it says, for months you've been asking for all this, so here you go. And he says, in connection with your committee's investigation of these matters and ongoing hearings, you've been asking us to accelerate this process and to provide any additional information relating to the reliability of the work of Christopher Steele and the so-called Steele dossier, as long as its release would not compromise U.S. Attorney John Durham's ongoing criminal investigation. And so it all focuses around this footnote here, 334, and pretty much says that, Steele got his information from somebody that was almost assuredly a Russian spy. So who was messing around with the Russians? It wasn't us. It was Steele and the DNC that he was working for. So it was very interesting, though, that he kept referring to Durham's investigation. So, Durham is working on criminal investigation here, and there are some things that are going to come out of it. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, it had this, and down here is the overview of the counterintelligence investigation of Christopher Steele's primary subsource. So there you go on that. And so, yeah, that's just confirmation of what we've all known all along. It's just, this is the confirmation now. And Graham says down here, this is the most stunning and damning revelation the committee has uncovered. And he says there's these takeaways that essentially the guy was a Russian agent, most likely, and that they knew it. And yet they were still using it. And so down here he says, a small group of individuals in the Department of Justice and FBI should be held accountable for this fraud against the court. I do not believe they represent the overwhelming majority of patriotic men and women who work at the Department of Justice and FBI. The now famous email Susan Rice sent to herself on Inauguration Day, where she states that President Obama said that everything has to be done by the book, has become highly suspect. If this investigation is by the book, then the book we're using is the Kremlin playbook. So I thought that was good that he said that. And of course, this was the biggie revelation yesterday. Today, actually. I'm sorry. It was today. I feel like it's yesterday. It has been such a long day. So, September 29th, this came out. This was the letter to Lindsey Graham from John Ratcliffe, and he says, in response to your request for intelligence community information related to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, I have declassified the following. And so here we have it. In late July 2016, U.S. intelligence agencies obtained insight into Russian intelligence analysis alleging that U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton had approved a campaign plan to stir up a scandal against U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump by tying him to Putin and the Russians' hacking of the Democratic National Committee. The IC does not know the accuracy of this allegation or the extent to which the Russian intelligence analysis may reflect exaggeration or fabrication. Very interesting that it has that qualifier at the end, but pretty much this pins it on Hillary and says, you know what? She's the one that started all of this. Now we know, right? We know it. And according to his handwritten notes, former Central Intelligence Agency Director Brennan subsequently briefed President Obama and other senior national security officials on the intelligence, including the alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26, 2016, of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. On the 7th of September 2016, U.S. intelligence officials forwarded an investigative referral to FBI Director James Comey and Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok regarding U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private mail server. Notice that. Look carefully, folks, that it was Russian hackers. You remember what was hacked? Yeah, the DNC server, supposedly. And you know who that ties into. Yep. Anyway, so as referenced in his 24 September 2020 letter to your committee, Attorney General Barr has advised that the disclosure of this information will not interfere with ongoing Department of Justice investigations. Additional declassification and public disclosure of related intelligence remains under consideration. However, the IC welcomes the opportunity to provide a classified briefing with further detail at your convenience. So they can give them classified information, if they are with the smaller group. But it looks like right now they do have to pick and choose because of the Durham investigation. So there you go on that. And here's who all got that. Dianne Feinstein, Marco Rubio, Mark Warner, Adam Schiff, and Devin Nunes. Well, it kind of looks like some of the Gang of Eight, but Dianne Feinstein is because she's the ranking member on the Judiciary Committee. So that would be why she's there. But Marco Rubio and Warner are from the Intel Committee, and then Schiff and Nunes are the Intel Committee from the House. So then you have, a couple more? You got 4 more on there. So it's half of them. So then we've got that. And now look at this. Yeah, Louis Gohmert got up there to speak because the House and the Senate, and I'm really not sure I understand totally why the Senate did this, but they have proposed resolutions I don't know if they voted on them today or not. I'm sorry, I really haven't had time to look. I haven't had energy to do it. But they both came up with resolutions today that had to do with peaceful transfer of power. And it says here that the Senate one was unanimously passed, which I find kind of disturbing. And it was suggested by Joe Manchin. Here's the actual, I got it here so you can see it. But yeah, just reaffirming the commitment to an orderly and peaceful transfer of power. It's like, this is just a very bad timing, I think, on this. Because the last paragraph here, it's resolved that the Senate reaffirms its commitment to the orderly and peaceful transfer of power called for in the Constitution of the United States and intends that there should be no disruptions by the president or any person empowered to overturn the will of the people of the United States. And the House says exactly the same thing. This is the House resolution. I mean, it doesn't say the same thing in the middle. Oh, this was put in by Swalwell. Yeah. So, it says similar stuff here about it, but the resolve down here at the bottom is just the same. It's exactly the same. So I kind of wonder, I mean, I know why the Democrats would put this in there, because it's a way of insulting President Trump and saying, you know, he can't call for any type of investigations into the legality of the votes or ballots or anything, because that's what this appears to be trying to stop. And I can understand the House doing it, but I'm not sure why the Senate did it. But Louis Gohmert was not happy, okay? He had to speak out. He voted against it. Now, the House was not unanimous, but it was almost unanimous. There were, I think, 5 Republicans that didn't. It was him and Gates, and I don't remember the others. But, you know, he was just not very happy about it. And I'm going to leave this down below. It's 9 minutes long, but he kind of summarizes why he believes that it really was not a good thing to be doing, especially in light of this document that just came out back here. And so he said, you know, of all days, when we find out that Hillary Clinton had this Russian hacking scam and everything, and was trying to set up Donald Trump, and you're talking to us about peaceful transfer of power? I mean, if you want the, like, poster child for non-peaceful transfer of power, it was the transfer from the Obama administration to the Trump administration. So anyway, I'll leave that below. You know, he gets pretty fiery in it and everything, but once you understand the context, I think you'll really get what he's saying there. But anyway, so here's an article on it too. I hate it when they do all these pop-ups. But yeah, the House adopted a resolution on Tuesday to affirm the chamber's support for a peaceful transfer of power after President Trump last week declined to commit to it if he loses re-election. That's not really what he said. He didn't say if he lost. He said if there's, you know, any funny business with the ballots, which after the whole Ilhan Omar videos from Project Veritas, there's good reason for it. So I don't know how this is going to play out, folks. I really don't. Well, I just can't believe that he wouldn't, like, win by a landslide. But the problem is, if they can manufacture votes for a week afterwards, who knows what's going to end up happening. And, you know, when they talk about it has to be postmarked, that's not necessarily true. I mean, you can put, like, a lot of businesses have these stamp machines, and they can postmark it pretty much any day they want. So, yeah, they could postmark it for the day of the election, but actually mail it after that. So that's not foolproof that they would get that. I know it should work out. Well, here are the 5 that voted against it. Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, Clay Higgins, Steve King, and Thomas Massie. I think what they were upset about is how it was complaining, you know, it was really targeting Trump. And I think they were upset that it was doing that. And so I don't really understand why they felt they had to do that and so decisively. But then again, it does, both of these do say that any person in power, maybe the Republicans put that in there, any person in power to, be able to stop some Democrats if they're caught supporting these rioters or whatever. So anyway, but that's what I've got for you on this one. Sorry, it's kind of, it's just been a long day and a lot of very intensive energy listening to stuff. And, oh, it's just like both of those were big things. And I wish they wouldn't both been in the same day. But now we're just waiting to find out about the Flynn decision. He said he would do it. He'd get to it. We'll see how it'll work and, how fast he actually does. I had several threads that I could have shown you that were like almost play by play as it was going along. But, you just really need to hear the summary. It was a lot of the same old arguments that they've been saying. The judge asked questions, and from the questions he asked, you could figure out he was very biased. And the same thing with Chris Wallace. I always want to say Chris Matthews. But no, Chris Wallace did the same thing. Pretty biased. But part of it too was Trump was pretty vocal a lot of times. And Wallace was trying to stop him from talking over Biden. But he never did that with Biden, of course. Anyway. So it was an interesting day. I would not like to live too many of these days, but lots of good stuff happened. And, it was very positive that a lot of truth got out from President Trump during the debate, and a lot of people were watching. So we'll see. But remember, they're spinning it. So we've got to get out there and spin it too. We don't have to spin it. We need to set the record straight is what we need to do and tell the truth. And anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.